So when I saw the name of this week's Torah portion, Re'eh, I thought, I know what that's about, and it would be fun to talk about it. Re'eh is the opening word of one of my favorite verses in the portion that I chant on Yom Kippur. Re'eh natati lefanecha hayom et ha'chaim ve'et ha'tov ve'et ha'mavet ve'et ha'ra. If you know Hebrew, you know that what I just sang is, look, Re'eh, I set before you today, Hayom, life and prosperity, ha'chaim v'hatov, death and adversity, ha'mavet v'ha'ra. In case we don't get it, Torah repeats the lines just a few verses later. I have put before you life and death, blessing and curse. Choose blessing, that you and your offspring might live. Well, who wouldn't choose blessing? And how hard could such a choice be? But when I opened the Torah to refresh my memory about how the rest of the Re'eh portion goes, I soon realized that this week's Re'eh is not as melodic, or shall I say, as psychologically generous as the one on Yom Kippur. It sounds more like, now see here, and it doesn't promise life and prosperity, only blessing and curse. Blessing if we obey the statutes set before us, and curse if we don't. Talk about God as eternal parent, threatening us with an almighty, do as I say or else. Except that this isn't God speaking, it's Moses. And you know how we humans love to put words in God's mouth. Moses is admonishing the Israelites because they are about to cross the Jordan to enter the promised land, and he won't be going with them. Knowing how stiff-necked they are, he evidently feels the need to threaten them within an inch of their lives about what will happen if they don't obey the rules and regulations for living and worshiping together as the Bnei Yisrael. Interestingly, most of the rules he lectures them about have little to do with what I think of as moral issues. Aside from warnings about whoring after false gods, they mostly concern the practicalities and legalities of living in a community 4,000 years ago. A lot has changed in those 4,000 years. We no longer live in a homogeneous community, if we ever really did, but are scattered across the face of the earth. We no longer stone adulterers or force women to marry their rapists, if we ever did. We no longer offer God the pleasing aroma of animal sacrifice, having learned from the prophet Micah that God prefers justice, kindness, and humility upon the earth. But no matter how much our beliefs and practices have changed, one thing remains the same: our identification as a people of God, and the need to express that identity not only as individuals, but also as a community. When you enter the promised land, says Moses, you shall not act each householder as he pleases. Instead, you shall come together for your rituals and cooperate for the common good and take care of the less fortunate among you. So here we are tonight, drawn together on the eve of a 3-day weekend when we might rather be somewhere else, not because we have been ordered to be here or else, but probably because we have internalized a collective 4,000-year-old need to gather with our spiritual tribe, to help and support each other in the common task of Tikkun Olam, and to talk about things that touch our souls. What touches my soul right now is the whole business of choosing life or death practically every time we make a decision. As I become increasingly aware that I am in my final decade, or maybe 2, of active life, I find myself taking a long view of the choices for good or ill, for blessing or curse, that I have made over the past 22 years. I'm not worried about whether a jealous God is going to reward or punish me. Probably no one here thinks in those terms. A, because we don't believe in that kind of God, and B, because we generally try to live morally, responsibly, or we wouldn't be here tonight. Instead, I'm intrigued by the tapestry created by 70 plus years of curses and blessings. We are all weaving some kind of tapestry with our lives, and I'm sharing mine to encourage you to look at your own with love and gratitude. My first experiment with curses happened when I was about 8 years old, and it literally involved cursing. This was back in the day when kids got their mouths washed out with soap by parents who hadn't heard Olivier's teaching on the true meaning of the second commandment. I was playing a game with a ball. I think it was called 7-Up. It involved a series of tossing the ball against a wall, doing various tricks, and catching the ball on the rebound. I could get almost to the end of the series, but inevitably something would happen to spoil the run, and I'd have to start all over again. Finally, in a fit of rage and frustration, I defied the powers that be, the powers that cause balls to fall willy-nilly, and did something that I knew would get me sent straight to hell. Julia, is she here? Cover her ears. In a loud stage whisper, God forbid my mother should hear, I said, "Damn it." Nothing bad seemed to happen, so I upped the ante, and I said, "God damn it." And then, "God damn it to hell." And then I ducked, waiting for a lightning bolt to fly from the sky. It didn't. And that was the blessing of my first curse. It revealed that the scary things I'd been taught about God weren't necessarily so. Maybe God wasn't such a mean old boogeyman after all. Fast forward 10 years. God and I had made our peace with each other, and I felt called to join the religious order of nuns who had taught in my all-Catholic high school, all-girls Catholic high school. Joining the convent was a blessing because it taught me a number of skills, both practical and spiritual, that have served me to this day. But it was also a curse, for the regimen of unquestioning obedience really clipped my young adult wings just when I was trying to fly. Still, I had made a commitment, so I didn't bail out until my superiors decided that I should go. What a curse to be rejected. What a blessing to be set free. Among other things, how was I ever going to become a Jew in the convent? Life since then has been a series of blessings and curses. I was blessed with 2 very happy, loving marriages, but cursed to lose both partners through sudden death. But not cursed in the long run, because the losses opened the possibility of new love and other ways of being. At the risk of sounding like the Mother Superior who dismisses Maria from the convent in The Sound of Music, it does seem that God never closes a door but when he opens a window. And so it has been for me. God may have slammed the convent door on me, but other windows opened and I was free to check them out. I stayed in the church for a few years, but my heart wasn't in it. I was attracted to Judaism, what little I knew of it, but I assumed that I wouldn't be welcome, and I didn't dare to crash the party. I drifted into agnosticism, but I was lonely for God and community, so I accepted an invitation to go to an Episcopal service one Sunday morning, lured by the promise of a Bloody Mary afterward. That's how we could, maybe that's how we could increase our numbers. I was a contented Episcopalian for 15 years and thinking about going to seminary when suddenly, one Sunday morning, it struck me that I didn't believe a word of what we were saying in the Nicene Creed. Just as I had in the convent, I toughed it out for another year or so, but it's like the verse in that old song, "I don't know where we went wrong, but the feeling's gone and I just can't get it back." The only feeling I had for God things was wrestling. I was that 8-year-old kid again, shaking my fist at God and saying, "Damn it." Lonely and wanting to be in relationship with God, but not knowing how to do it on my own. It was a time of shadow and curse, but in God's own good time, it became one of my life's greatest blessings. It happened like this. I had been dating a pleasant Pakistani professor, seemed to be a blessing, who became unpleasantly radicalized after 9/11. Curse. During the ensuing breakup, I decided to consult a counselor from his same part of the world, a choice that truly was a blessing, for the counselor was Jamal Rahman, whom some of you may know from his interfaith work with Rabbi Ted here at Beit Aleph after 9/11. After hearing my story and affirming my decision to leave the relationship, Jamal introduced me to Sufi meditation, thinking that it would heal my wounded heart. It did. So now I was back in relationship with God and eager to connect with a community of like-minded souls, but I didn't feel drawn to the local Sufi group. I confessed to Jamal that since my 20s, I had really felt that I had a Jewish soul. And Jamal, God love him, said, I know just the place for you, Beit Aleph. So here I am, blessing the twists and turns of life that have brought me to this place tonight. Went to the mikveh in 2005, became bat mitzvah in 2006, and will go to my grave as the Jew I was born to be. And knowing me, probably still shaking my fists like a good God-wrestling Jew. I think the takeaway message I want to share from my story is that blessing and curse go together as surely as life and death. Nothing ever stays the same. And aside from black and white issues of truly wicked choices, murder, cheating, destroying someone's reputation, that kind of thing, whether something is a blessing or a curse is largely what we make of it. The rejections, losses, and sorrows I have experienced turned out to be not curses at all. They were merely blessings waiting to manifest when I was ready to see and embrace them. A few minutes ago, I asked, how hard could it be to choose blessing? Damn hard sometimes when life throws us something that feels like a curse. But those are the times when we really do have a meaningful choice about how to respond. I'm with Moses when he says, choose blessing, choose life. L'chaim.